React's test utilities allow us to simulate any event that's supported by React. So to get started taking a look at this simulation, I've got a really quick component here called up-down. It's got an initial state, returns a value of 0. It's got this inc method, which increments that value, a dec method, which decrements that value. Then our render method, we're returning a button tied to that in the onClick to the decrement method, a span with the inner HTML of that val, and then another button tied to the increment method. And then here in my index.html, I'm bringing in React with add-ons over CDN. I've got my up, down, and then I'm just rendering that component. Let's take a look at it really quick. Everything works as expected. So to tap into that simulate method and the test utilities, I'm going to assign a variable called test to react.addons.testutils. And I'm going to take my react.render component. I'm also going to assign that to a variable. I'm going to call that app. And I'm going to say test.simulate. And now once we're in a simulate, the next thing we need to pass in is our event. So in our case, it's a click. It could be an on mouse over. It could be all sorts of things. And then we need to give that a target. So that's going to be app.refs. We'll do increment in this case. And then just get DOM node. So it should click on that DOM node. So now when we load this, what we're expecting to happen is for React to simulate a click on this increment button here and our value to become 1. And that looks like it worked just fine. If we want to get kind of silly with it, we'll do that 3 times. We get a 3. If we want to just drop that into a set interval every half second, that works just fine as well. So let's clear this out. Now, the issue here is that doesn't really get us any closer to running a suite of tests. So to do that, here's our proverbial cake in the oven. And what I'm doing here is exact same setup. I'm bringing in React with add-ons, but I'm also bringing the Mocha CSS, the Mocha library, and the Chai library all over CDN, then the up-down library. Some really basic fundamental configuration here, but nothing that you can't just run in the browser. There's no Node.js. There's no setup here. You just run this in the browser. So to get started, I'm going to say describe. And I'm going to call this up down. So here's our suite. And then we're going to have our first test here. We're going to say should have a val of 1. Pass in done. And when we're done, we're going to run done. Okay, so here, what we're going to do is we're going to say var ud. I'm just going to shorten up down to ud. Say test.render into document up down. So there's our component rendered into the document. Now I can actually just grab this right from here. Drop that right there. So we're running the exact same simulation, except now instead of app, it's ud. And now we can, check our value here. So we're going to say ud.state.val.should equal 1. Whoop. Okay, so there's our first test. Let's try that out. Save, load it in the browser, and it passed that test. Awesome. So if we wanted to fail that test, we'll say equal 0, and we can see it failed. So cool, that works. We'll just do one more here really quick. Just copy this over. And here we'll say clicks dec. Should have a val of -1. Should equal -1. I think we're looking good. So now we have our 2 tests using test utilities and the simulation or the simulate method on the test utilities.